Hi everyone, it's Kelly Cameron here, and today's video is going to be about intimacy in my writing. And a lot of people ask me about the intimacy in my writing because I write erotic romance, so my sex scenes are very hot. In most of my books, they're very explicit. I mean, I do write some sweet romances. You can check out my website and find those too. And usually with my sweet romances, there's not any sex scenes in there at all. To me, a sex scene is really the icing on the cake. And it is for most romance authors that when you're writing a story, you want to make sure that you have a good story. A good story first, because the sex should be that it's the icing on the cake. It makes everything just, tops it all off nicely. Haha. But for me too, in my writing, it's not the sexual intimacy that's the most important. It's really the emotional intimacy that I want to see within my characters, because then I feel that if they are communicating well and they're admitting their emotions and they're talking about the things that are important to them, or maybe issues that they have, when you create that intimate emotional bond between characters, then the sex becomes even more intimate, and it's taking that intimacy to a deeper level. And this is something that in my personal life, like, I practice that. I'm much more of an emotional, intimate person. I want to be emotionally intimate with people. I want people to understand me. I want them to be able to hear me. I want to be able to understand people and hear them and emotionally know them. And I know in some of my books, I think Rebound probably the most comes to mind. It's one of the books that people ask me about, because the first version of the story, there wasn't a lot of communication between the two characters. They really liked one character. They didn't like the female lead character. But that was really because she wasn't being honest emotionally with herself, and I hadn't been writing that about her. And to unravel, and everything is about timing. So in my books, when I do this, it's not like, oh, they just emotionally spill everything right away. It's also building that into the story so that there's a timing and there's pacing, so that they reveal themselves emotionally a little at a time, and sometimes they get interrupted, but how do they bring it back to that? Because that's also like real life when you're having a conversation with someone and you might get interrupted, but how do you get back to that emotional intimacy and back to that conversation that might be very important for you to understand your partner, or for you to understand where someone's coming from, and not, forget about it. So it's really a matter of pacing it out. And I also like to show what people in the books are feeling and thinking in their head. Are they angry? Are they upset? Are they even aware of their emotions? Are they aware that they might be projecting this onto someone? Rebound, for example, because that's, one of my favorites, is a story about two people who they had a relationship together, but there was a lot of miscommunication because mostly they had a long distance relationship, and they were young and they didn't know how to communicate how they were feeling, and they made a lot of assumptions about what the other person was feeling, but also that they thought the other person knew what they were feeling because they didn't actually say anything. And so that story was about them coming back together, admitting that they still had feelings for each other, and to building this emotional intimacy together that they didn't have before, and talking about some of their issues and some of the things that they didn't say, because there was a lot. If you read the book, there's a lot that they didn't say. And sometimes that's the way it is in real life. When you meet someone, you don't, maybe vomit everything out at once, and sometimes about yourself, but you build on that a little bit at a time, especially when you meet someone new and you want to get to know them. Developing that emotional intimacy takes some time, because you may not reveal everything at once, and you might not even know. You could there's something that I always tell my children about, because this is something that I've experienced myself, is that there's a lot of inner work that I've done for myself for emotional healing, but it also, a deeper level of healing is when you bring another person into your life, someone who's very important to you, and you might then be triggered in ways that you thought you were done with. but it's because you are trying to develop an intimacy with another person. So I think first, intimacy starts with yourself. It starts with knowing yourself, knowing what you like, what you don't like, what your issues are, knowing that you're trying to work on them the best that you can, and then understanding that when you bring another person into your life, you are then you're inviting this person in to be intimate with you in an emotional way, and also that they might be triggered by things that you do emotionally, whether it's sadness or it's anger or something. But being able to know that, okay, it's not really about you or vice versa, but that you're going to work on it and that you're going to talk about it and that you're able to be like, oh, okay, I'm really angry right now and I need some space and I need to go over there, or give me 5 minutes, or just to go, wow, what you said, that made me feel really sad. And then to be able to have a conversation and go, oh, really? Like, why did it make you sad? Has this happened before? And to have those kinds of intimate conversations where you can bring out those things in other people for healing. Because relationships with yourself, relationships with other people, that's really, I think, where the intimacy comes, is important, is because it's important for our own personal healing, and it's important for us to move forward if we want to do anything in our life with other people, is that we want to have that emotional intimacy. I mean, there's a lot of great dramas on TV. There's a lot of great dramas in books where the intimacy comes from the miscommunication, or the spark comes from a miscommunication, that this person said this and da, 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 and that's great and people enjoy that. For me, I like to write, a little different. So it's not that there isn't, drama, but it's just like how, for me, the real joy for me in writing and the real, I guess, spark for me comes from, ooh, here's an issue. How are these people going to resolve that? Are they going to resolve it? And kind of, drag it out that way so people are left wondering, like, wow, how is this going to be resolved? And that's what I like. That's what I think that readers of my work really like too. For me, it brings a nice conclusion to the end of the book when people grow and mature emotionally, as well as, sexually intimate with each other, because then, and, I like sex like a lot of other people, so I like to write, the hot stuff, and I also like to write humor into some of my series because, hey, life should be fun and it should be funny. And it is funny, right? So that is my take on that, and answering some, I guess, a fan questions or fans' questions about intimacy in my writing and in my life too, in life in general. Have a great day. Bye.